Hello, and welcome to Empowered with Elizabeth Naumovski. We all wonder, how do employees get empowered in the workplace? And how different is it for women to be empowered in the workplace? Now, what about the profile of a strong, empowered woman in the workplace? Let's find out. Today, I'm speaking to Ellie Maggio, the founder of Emend Management Consulting Inc. Ellie is a human resources consulting professional for 30 years, working with CEOs and executives to develop HR solutions. Now, she's also working with Caldwell Financial Limited to lead their HR strategies. Thank you so much for being here, Ellie. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I just want to do a deep dive into this right now. How do employees get empowered in the workplace?
So there are three ways in which they get empowered. One is through continual learning. The other is really matching their own personal vision and values with the organizational goals. And finally, leveraging off of any sort of failures or mistakes that they've made and turning that into a learning opportunity. There's really two main components to empowerment. One is the being open enough to listen to employees, and the other is recognizing employee contributions.
So, I understand what you just talked about for regular employees, but it's a little different for women, though. So how do women get empowered in the workplace?
You're quite correct in saying that it is very different for women. I think it's important for organizations to ensure that there's a seat at the table for women, a seat at the executive table or the board table. They should be encouraged to speak up. There's a need for them to set really specific expectations and there should be a promotion of their talent, and they should be mentored, and women should also be mentoring and sponsoring other women.
Yeah, I think mentoring and sponsoring is super important. But if I'm looking at a profile of a strong, empowered woman in the workplace, what is that profile?
So an empowered woman is a successful woman. It's someone who is self-aware, knows what their personal brand is, what their purpose is. They're very strong, they're creative, they think outside the box. They're very knowledgeable, they're sure of themselves, and they support other women.
And I think it's really important for other women to support other women. I've heard some horror stories of different places where women will actually put down their colleagues and not help them out. And you and I have talked many times about this, the importance of helping the next generation go through.
Right. So I agree. I think that women need to support women, and we need to be not only mentoring women, but sponsoring them as well. We need to make introductions to other women, so there have to be connections made, opening doors, and ensuring that they have the resources that they need to succeed. We need to champion our colleagues based on their strengths, back them up in meetings. It's really important for their success.
And so, what do employees want in the workplace? Now, I know that there's a lot of things that are really important for success, for whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. But what do employees want?
So employees want to be recognized. They want to do meaningful work. They want to be in a culture which is supportive, something that's flexible. They'd like to work from home. They like the perks and benefits that organizations offer. They want their voice to be heard. They want an opportunity to give feedback and to influence the direction of the organization.
So you just talked about what employees want in the workplace. When we come back after this break, we'll talk to Ellie about what women want in the workplace and why it's important that there's such a dichotomy between, a whole group of people in the workplace and what women need and want. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered with Elizabeth Naumovski. We're discussing how to get empowered in the workplace. Now, Ellie, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about, what do employees want in the workplace? But right now I want to focus on what do women want and need in the workplace? Because it's different.
Absolutely. Women would like to do, they'd like a calling. They would like to do something more than just a 9-to-5 job. They would like flexibility around their work arrangements. Not only would they need it for their personal life. They would like to do meaningful work. They want their voices heard. They would like to work in a collaborative environment. And they want to work creatively and transformatively.
Now, has any of this changed since COVID?
It has changed quite a bit. There are many people that think that COVID was good to women in that women could work from home. It has, in fact, brought women back a few rungs in that they were challenged with home life, and so many of them have done the Great Resignation that we're all familiar with. So we have seen negative things happen, unfortunately, to women. Even though there was some flexibility in how people would work, it was more difficult and challenging for them.
Yeah, I back in, during the lockdown, so it must have been July 2020, I was speaking at the Empire Club of Canada. And I came out and I said, I don't think anything has changed. My mother, when I was little, would take my food, my diapers, my clothing. She would, take me to work with her, and she was cleaning homes. And, she would have to come home and, take care of me. But she had to take care of me while she was cleaning these homes and working. And, I said, the only thing that's really changed is, one, we have cell phones now, which we didn't have back then. Two, we have disposable diapers, which we didn't have back then. But really nothing has really changed since, when my mom was in work and women in the workplace right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Only that women have become super women and are willing to do a lot more, unfortunately. Not necessarily willing, but are put in a position to do a lot more and not necessarily have the resources. Yes, we have a cell phone, but there are other resources that maybe
there's an app for that. But one of the things that, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you talked about the Great Resignation. What does that mean?
So for women, that means that a lot of them had no choice but to step back. They may have been next in line for a manager position, a leadership position, but they just couldn't even contemplate it. So they've had to look, and they continue to look for jobs that support their needs and what they're hoping to do. In the future, things will be much more entrepreneurial for women. They're definitely paving the way because they're taking care of so many different things.
And the interesting thing too is, when my mom was going to work, there was no daycare back then. Yeah. So she had to, take me with her. But that was one of the biggest challenges for women before and during COVID. There is no daycare. There's no place that they could actually focus on work and leave their children behind and make sure that they're well taken care of.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why women are looking for a supportive work environment. They're looking for kid-friendly environment. It's important for them to have the flexibility to deal with some of the home life issues. And I would say not only mothers, but there are women that are dealing with aging parents and There's that whole need to deal with being a caregiver in a different way as well.
And you know what? I talk about this often. You talked about being caregivers to your parents. We're in that sandwich generation, right? You've got to take care of your mother, your father, you've got children, you've got work. There's so much going on, and it is exhausting. And as you said, we're looking for something that will be helpful to us in order to help us succeed going forward. When we come back, we're going to talk a bit more about what do women need to succeed in the workplace more than we've got now. Welcome back to Empowered with Elizabeth Naumovski. We're discussing how to get empowered in the workplace. Now, before we went to break, we were talking about things that women need. Childcare, some time for themselves, time for growth. What do women really need to succeed in the workplace?
They need to be incredibly focused. They need to have an endless desire to learn. They need support. They need colleagues who will back them. They need a group of women that they could ask for advice. They do need flexible work arrangements. We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
And they need training and development because there are so many women that have the skills, but they don't necessarily have the experience. And they're much better communicators, and they're very creative and innovative, and they're great people managers. And so organizations should be able to leverage off of that. But they need some training and professional development because they may not have had the opportunity to be in a leadership role.
But you know what, Ellie? I think it's really important for anyone to get more training. You look at technology, it changes so quickly. You look at social media, whatever it is, there's so many things that change in our workplace. And I think the curiosity, people that are really curious will end up doing a little bit better than others that are not as curious as to what's happening or what changes are going on.
I would agree with that. I mean, curiosity is really important. And curiosity will seek out opportunities for women that may have been overlooked because of discrimination and bias, unconscious bias. Mm-hmm. But that curiosity may help women actually track down an opportunity and give them an opportunity to promote themselves so they could be seen as possibly co-leading with a male manager or something like that.
Well, my mother always said, if you don't know, ask. Right. So to me, that's really important. I've been a curious child. I'm curious as an adult. I'm always asking questions and I'm always trying to learn. And I think you're right on point. If you want to succeed, you've got to, think about the next step. Ask, how did this other person get to where they are? Why should employers hire women? Now you said that, we're good leaders. We have a lot to offer. But if you're looking at somebody who has a corporation right now and is male dominated, why should this individual hire a woman?
Well, the whole thought of diversity is also diversity of thinking. Women bring a whole different perspective to solving problems and dealing with issues. It's when you ask why organizations should hire women, well, number one, they will have a larger talent pool. They will meet or exceed their financial expectations. There's always enhanced collaboration when women are involved. There's greater teamwork. There's better leadership. There's basically a better representation with customers as well, or clients, because there's more women on the team.
And you know what? I mean, people keep forgetting 50% of Canadians are women.
Yeah.
So if you have an all-male team, it's very hard. I mean, I know if you look at the financial industry, a lot of women don't want to deal with a male investment advisor. When you're buying a car, you don't want to be put down by a gentleman who is trying to sell you a car. I've been in that position before. And, I mean, speaking of cars, I went to go buy a car. He was trying to upsell me, even though I said, no, this is what I want. Let me be clear. But even when I went to go sign the papers for the car, I was sitting on a low sofa and signing on a coffee table. Now, it was perfect for a man cave. It was perfect for guys to go in and watch sports and hang out and have a good time. But it really wasn't conducive to me sitting in a dress, trying to watch what I was doing when I'm signing the papers. Yeah. So that point that you just made is really important, especially if you've got customers that are outside of your firm. You've got clients that are just as diverse. So when we come back, speaking of diverse, I want to talk to you about diversity and inclusion and delve a little bit more into that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Empowered with Elizabeth Naumovski. We're discussing finding empowerment at work with Ellie Maggio, founder of Emend Management Consulting Inc. So Ellie, before we went to break, I said we were going to talk about diversity and inclusion. I'm reading a book right now, Betsy Atkins' book, and it's called Be Board Ready. And she talks about company culture and how to make it more welcoming for women. And she says groups that nurture and empower their gender diversity gain in revenue and adaptability. So what does diversity and inclusion mean for women in the workforce?
Everything from collaboration, better performance, better company performance, better profitability, better customer service. It means a number of different things. One thing that we discussed earlier is a different way of thinking. Women think differently. They have more soft skills. They have better interpersonal skills. They're more communicative. And so that whole other cognitive diversity, that's what it means. It also means that organizations will operate much more inclusively because they're collaborators and they will include and promote that diversity of thinking. So it means that senior women will be in leadership positions, and that will make a big difference in organizations and how they're led. So it means so many different things.
But that's great. So now I want to move on to pay equity, because back when I was speaking at the Empire Club, I was looking statistics. Stats Canada came out with what men are being paid, what women are being paid. For every dollar a man makes, a woman made 87 cents to the dollar, which, keeps us back. We live longer, we're making less money. So we have to struggle a lot more. So what does, pay equity mean for women?
So pay equity is actually legislation. And in Canada, that means it's provincial, federal, and human rights legislation. Organizations use it to ensure market competitiveness as well. So it means that jobs or women that are performing jobs that are of equal value to male jobs will be paid the same or will have the same earning opportunity. So by using a valuing system, it allows us to, say, compare apples with oranges. Both of them are equally nutritious, but they're not equal. So it might mean comparing the pay of a mechanic with an administrative specialist. So the mechanic may be male, the administrative specialist would be female, and they should have the same earning opportunity.
That's really good to know, because I think a lot of people don't understand that. They've heard pay equity, but I don't think there's a great understanding of it. Talking about pay equity, I wanted to ask you, what makes women most unhappy about their jobs? Because is it their salary?
That's a really good question. Most people think it's their salary, but most dissatisfaction comes from the relationship that a woman would have with their boss or the people that she reports to. That and not having challenging or meaningful work, or a culture which is perhaps not collaborative enough or supportive enough. Those things are more important to women than pay. However, there are some baseline pay requirements, and that too would be important to a woman. But compensation is not the first thing that makes women unhappy.
And that's one of the things that most people think it is. It's like, if I pay her more, things will be better. Thank you so much, Ellie. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So, what have we learned from speaking with Ellie today? Empowered women are successful. They are confident and are clear about their goals. They make informed decisions, build networks, and are not risk adverse. Empowered women are creative thinkers, balanced, intentional, and assertive. They also sponsor the success of women and others. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm trying to empower you and make frugality fashionable. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.